Joining me today on another episode of the Less is More Sports podcast is a coach that I worked alongside with when I was a sports writer at the Sentinel News, Mr. Bruce Blanton. Bruce, how you doing, my man?
Hey, man, good to see you, Les. Great to be with you, man. Appreciate you getting back. We've been miss you, man. Miss you seeing you around. You know, it's we hung out a lot for the last few years and at the paper and stuff and around town. So I miss seeing you. Hope you're doing well.
Yes, sir. You know, just kicking around, man. Just living life, man. That's all you can do.
Good deal.
I'll say, but I guess we're going to start off, with a little bit of your coaching background. You began coaching your senior year at EKU at Model High School. Since then, you've coached Rockcastle, Spencer, Henry County, and Shelby County. So I'm going to kind of break it off into a two-part question. One, what do you love about coaching? And two, what got you into it in the first place?
Well, I've always loved coach, and that's one of the things that I loved when I was in school. As I loved competing, I was a high school baseball and basketball player, and played football in middle school, a little bit of high school. But what got me into is that I love school. When I was in high school, I kind of lived for the winter and the spring because I wanted to play. I was ready to play basketball when the fall and winter rolled around, and ready to play baseball in the spring. I was just blessed to have a lot of good high school coaches in both sports, and they kept me involved and hauled me places and took me to camps, and helped instill to see the value of what education's about, and it definitely motivated me to be a better student, to keep my grades up, stay eligible, and just had a real sense of pride about performing and competing with my teammates and coaches in my school. And there was just a big sense of community pride whenever I was playing, and got me into it. And that's basically about the biggest reason that I went to college and got an education in teaching, because whenever I first started, I wanted to coach, and I didn't know exactly what I wanted to coach because I was always a baseball and basketball player, and probably, to be honest with you, was a better baseball player in high school than basketball. But I just got to work with so many good coaches, and I've coached them all. I've coached baseball and high school basketball, and loved them all. So that's kind of what got me started into coaching and teaching. And then after being in teaching and moving around a lot, just kind of love to learn the profession and just kind of be a spokesman just for the profession of education, and just try to make it a little bit more marketable and professional to as those folks that are in the world of being a doctor and a lawyer and all the other professions. Just try to give our profession a lot more credibility by being passionate about it.
I say very, very fair. And it's also fair to say that, sometimes your childhood coaches leave a lasting impact that even goes beyond the X's and O's and everything. And is it fair to say that you try to instill a lot of the values that you learned from your coaches into the players that you've coached?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. A lot of the integrity and the and the high morals, high character type things, and then the passion of competing, and the pride of being, successful for your school and for the people you're playing with, your teammates. It's all about your teammates. Who you playing with, who's got your back, and whose back that you got. And then, that was one of the best things for me as a high school athlete, that I got voted as the captain of the team by my peers, and was the most athletic, my junior and senior year, and 4-year letterman, and it's and it wasn't because I was always the best, but it was always because I had my teammates back, and I don't think there was probably people out there more talented than me around the region and the state than I played, but nobody out there played any harder than I did, and I just love to play, and that's what's important too about it, is it's a game, and we got to make it a game. And we want to have fun playing it. And I think sometimes it's kind of gets lost in today's atmosphere. But I think I answered one of your questions. I'm not sure I answered both, Les. So what was that other question?
You answered both. All right. No, you definitely touched on them. Trust me, I'd let you know if you didn't. But I'll say, no, it's funny that you –
I know you – Go ahead, man.
No, it's funny you said that, you know, you may have not been the most talented player, but you definitely played the hardest. And usually for me, those are the types of players that usually make the best coaches. So, I mean, that's just one side note that I wanted to point out. But also want to transition to the next part of the segment, and we're going to talk about Shelby County. And so beginning at the 2019-2020 season, the Rockets win their first 3 games of the regular season. First time it's happened in 4 years. Then you started noticing something was wrong. You know, kind of talk about what happened, what was going on.
Well, it's the thing about it is it's probably was my most exciting time of my time at Shelby County. I was excited. We had a lot of good kids coming back. We had good unity in place. So probably the closest our group had ever been in the 4 years I'd been at Shelby. And I mean, we had good people in place. Had a great staff in place. We were excited about our team chemistry. We kind of had everything that every coach's kind of dream. You know, I had a really good 2 guard that could shoot the rock, and I had 2 guards that could handle the ball and run our offenses. And we had some height. We had some inside presence. So, you know, we really had a great chemistry of what we needed to win the district and to be a threat in the region. And we had to have everything that because, you know, our district's probably the toughest in the 8th region. And to beat Anderson County and to beat Spencer and to beat Collins at that time, you know, you had to be pretty daggone good. And we didn't have much room for error. So, you know, so it was intense. You know, we don't, me and my coaches and the players, you know, we don't sit on the sidelines, and we don't, you know, we're out there practicing with the teams, and that's the way I've always been. I have never in my life in coaching any sport have I ever been a sit down kind of guy, coaching in practice or coaching on the sidelines. And I think you probably see me enough on the sidelines in your time at Shelby County to notice that I didn't really need a seat because I never sat down. So, you know, that's just kind of the way practice is. And that's the people that I hired to be my assistant coaches did. And that's just, you know, that energy, that passion, because, you know, if we're sitting over there not doing anything, that makes it easier for the players to do. And so, you know, it's, and it's not that I actually had felt bad, but I was just excited. And, and and I hadn't been sick, hadn't felt bad or anything. You know, as I look back, you know, there was probably a few stressful things work-wise, family-wise, and stuff that may have had you know, a little bit of a bearing or maybe a major bearing. But basketball was always my escape and able to get away from the stress of the school day or the stress of life or whatever, you know. And that was my sanctuary in the gym, especially at practice time. And then something just happened, you know. We were working on a half-court trap and just kind of running down the sideline with them and just coming up and talking about instructing and trapping and coming and trapping. And, man, something just hit me, just kind of blacked out and just kind of, you know, didn't really truly pass that, but just got a super big headache and just had that down. And my assistant coach had to kind of help me to the locker room. I just kind of wanted to get out of the gym away from the girls. So I thought it might – sometimes over the past years I'd had a route a little bit of vertigo that kind of hit me at different times and stuff. And that's kind of what I thought it was, but it was a little bit more than that. Not sure exactly, but from that time on, it was never really the same. Wasn't able to come back and coach. You know, my doctor kind of put some restrictions on me about if you want to come back and coach, so you're going to have to do a little bit different, you know, kind of sit down and be a little bit more relaxed and all that. And that just didn't work for me. I couldn't do that. You know, I couldn't. I've never done that since 1991. I've never been a coach like that, and to be able to reel that in and do that. And so it's been a learning process. A whole lot of counseling, a whole lot of physical therapy, a whole lot of trips to the doctor's office to you know, to really to address my health. And it's improved. It's better, and it's almost 100% better. I wouldn't say I'm 100% better but I certainly don't think that my whole point is to say that one of these days I hope to get back on the sideline, and I can't be a sit-down coach. I've got to kind of be back and be smart about how I go back. So I'm hoping to get back on the sidelines and being able to coach like I want to coach, but still being healthy while I'm doing it. So
kind of that Kobe Bryant, that Tom Brady mentality. If I can't play to the level of my abilities anymore, I don't want to play anymore. Kind of your situation. You don't want to coach the way. If you can't coach the way that you know how to coach, you can't get into it right now. Definitely respect that. And I want to flash back to January 9th. You had a matchup against South Oldham, and it was your first game back from the whole situation. But then the next day you had to check back in the doctor again, and that's when they told you that you couldn't complete the rest of the season. So kind of tell me about how heartbreaking that was to know that you couldn't return.
Well, it was tough, it was tough because when I came back, just sitting there on the sideline and then on the bench and not being able to get up and move and coach and do what I had done before, it was I could tell it was not conducive to what I needed to do. It was the game was slower and I didn't feel like and then I guess of course the good thing about it is I was able to listen to my assistants more. They told me, hey coach, this might be all right. You're here where we can kind of wrangle you down and keep you closer to us and get some input to you, which was good. That worked. But as far as able to get into the flow of the game and to get into the players' mentality of the game and to communicate with the officials and to communicate with the players during live action and stuff. And then, it was just such a dramatic change. And then not being 100%, your body's wanting to tell you to do it and your heart's wanting to do it, but then your head's kind of telling you something else and something is still just not right. And I could tell, and my coaches were kind of the ones that kind of directed it to me also too, because they would say, after the game, and that's probably a game we should have won. I think if I had been 100%, and I think my kids were worried about me, I think they were more worried about me, and that's that's another thing that kind of played into my decision to do what I did because. Those girls, I loved them, and I think they loved me and our coaching staff tremendously based on the amount of unity and growth that we'd had over the 4 or 5 years I was there. And so, it was maybe just kind of taken away from their performance and worrying about me as opposed to, worrying about South Oldham and stuff. But so I knew it wasn't something wasn't right, and then after my assistant coaches kind of brought it up to me, and then going back to work the next day, and then kind of having some of these same type issues when it all happened again. That was kind of the heartbreaking. I kind of realized it before my doctor actually told me, but it was definitely heartbreaking because it was the first time that I had been away from coaching since about 1991, with the exception of a couple of years in the probably the early 2000s, whenever I stepped away for a couple of years to go to graduate school. But yeah, I was heartbroken to say the least.
So I don't want to make an old joke, but you started coaching before I was even born. So yeah, definitely to walk away after that long a time. So that I can't imagine how heartbreaking that would have been. But in your absence time, I know even though you weren't physically there, I know you were with the team, whether that be figuratively, spiritually, however. And I kind of want you to talk about the job that Coach Katie Hudgens and Tanisha Johnson did in your absence.
Well, they stepped up tremendously. It's kind of the perfect storm whenever that happened to me, because my other assistant coach, Joshua Keene, who is going to be a great coach one of these days, super young man that was doing a lot of great things with our girls and with our team, and he's going to be a great coach one of these days. And he was kind of stepping in because he was kind of the basketball focus, and so whenever he was stepped in, then he had some of his own personal tragedies himself because his wife was pregnant with their first child, and she had to go on bed rest. And so when that happened and she was away from work, he had to step away from coaching to be with her and kind of help take care of her, because he'd have to go to work. And then as soon as he come home, he couldn't come to practice or games, so he had to step away from that. And then so whenever he had to step away, that kind of threw Katie into, the head spot. And definitely not what she wanted to do, but she kind of jumped into the spot and did a yeoman's job with that. And then but Coach Keene and then Coach Travis being there, Coach Travis, my other assistant coach who's been with me a long time, and Coach Travis was really great at being an old retired military guy, and he was great with the conditioning, and he was great with the organizational stuff, and he was great with the practice and stuff. But he's a guy that really never had any desire to be a head coach, but he always wanted to be there to help with the kids, and he had a great relationship with them, and they had a great relationship with him. And so it's kind of vice versa. But he was good with the conditioning and the weightlifting and that sort of thing. So. And then the part about with Coach Hudgens, Coach Hudgens and Coach Johnson are both my sister was assistant coaches there. They run the middle school program. They did it well. They were both former players there, so they kind of value and knew the tradition and the expectations of being a Shelby County Lady Rocket and what it took to be a Rocket and play there. And Coach Johnson had some trips to the state tournament as a Rocket, Lady Rocket, and then Coach Hudgens kind of come through some lean times with whenever the schools first split. But by her senior year, she was on a team that more than likely probably should have won the region. They got beat when Coach Holland's first year there, and Katie was the point guard, and that was a fun group to watch, and they had a lot of success. And if it hadn't been for a bad technical foul against Simon Kenton in the semifinals at Carroll County that year, they would have won the region, I think, for sure. But they stepped up, and we had them in place at the middle school, and so they knew the kids, and they did a lot of good stuff up there. And I just I couldn't ask for any more that. But I think throwing Katie into that spot without me or without Coach Keene in there, it was tough. And I think she did a great job, and I appreciate the job that she did and the commitment she made. And her and Coach Johnson kind of held the fort down there with Coach Travis there in that last year in my absence. And I'm forever grateful for their dedication and hard work to try to keep it going.
Hey, one thing I wish you would have seen, though, is that when Shelby County beat Collins that year with Coach Hudgens coaching, it would have been the first time they'd beaten Collins since Coach Hudgens was a player there, to my understanding. And that's what she told me after the game. And what was so awesome to see is just how, her face lit up and just how excited she was, not only just, to get a big win, but for the girls to see how excited they were. I mean, as a sports writer, it was something for me that was one of those days where I was really just, this is why I know I love what I do right now. Because just to see her face and how much she lit up on that. And I wish you could have seen that, because it was special for sure. And plus it was a great play. And, of course, Sakaya, who is, a phenomenal basketball player, it's hard to believe she's only in 8th grade. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
She's super talented. And I even think I read an article recently talking about how the coach now says that she has WNBA talent. So, that's amazing to say. But she found Caitlin Dish wide open under the basket for the go-ahead bucket, and then just to see the look on all the girls' face was just awesome.
It was amazing to me, and then being trying to listen to the game and then not wanting to listen and kind of walking away, and you're even my doctor told me, if there's games that he wouldn't even release me to go to the games. He said you can scout for them, whatever, but you can't get into the places where you're going to be. And so I tried to listen to it on the games, but that game I was just kind of all over the place. I just turned it off. But then after the game was over, the coaches called me and told me. Then the kids, all of them called me. It was great. So I was just super happy for them. And it's and that was just that was just part of the valleys and humps that we had to go over that year. The injuries in the very beginning of the year after our scrimmage games to Ashley Murphy into Macy Gowan, our two guards or 2 point guards and stuff. That was that was probably detrimental to the team, because when we lost our point guards and we didn't really have anybody else to step in those spots, and then when we had to move Kayla Bruner from the 2 down to the 1, she handled it well, but it just took so much away from her team. I tell Macy and Peppa every time I see them that their injuries probably cost us a trip to the region that year, and I think we could have definitely won 20 plus games that year and been in the region. And that's just kind of what the luck that you have to have in coaching with teams year in, year out, to be able to reach the pinnacle of trying to get to the state tournament. And I was heartbroken for them, but they were just over jubilant. I can't imagine them being any more happy for their team and their teammates and us as, just like myself. And if I had been there before, seeing the excitement of and the look on the coaches' faces, Coach Hudgens, the players, and even the players that couldn't play, especially those two with the injuries. It was one of those amazing things. It's kind of one of the reasons that people are around coaching high school athletes, and kind of the reason you play high school sports, and the enjoyment of doing something big, especially in the rivalry games for your school and your community.
I was saying that actually perfectly ties into my next question, because, a lot of the listeners may not understand the challenges that actually come with being a high school coach. And it's not, high school is a lot different than coaching in college, middle school, pros, whatever. But I mean, obviously there's little to no recruiting at all. It's not like you can sign and trade players. I mean, can you imagine just like trading away players and getting other players in the region like that? That'd be like unheard of. I mean, treating them like professional athletes, or I don't know. But also and then of course you got to figure out the X's and O's, getting all of them to play on the same team, and being cohesive together. But then you also got to deal with the parents, and that can be one of the biggest challenges of all. And I think you and I spoke briefly about this when I think I interviewed you about kind of when I gave my editorial piece telling parents to kind of calm down the way they talk to the refs, and that editorial piece. So with all that being said, kind of talk about a lot of the challenges that come with being a high school coach. And I try to ask that every time I bring in a high school coach, because I don't think a lot of my listeners really understand that. It's a very difficult job.
It's an extremely difficult job, and it's extremely difficult, and it's changed the dynamics of high school coaching. Has changed tremendously. My first coaching job in 1991 at Richmond Model. When you look down at our players on our team, we would have about 90% of the players we had on our team. Their moms and dads were still married. They're still coming to the games. They're both supportive. They have mom there, dad there, grandma and grandpa there, brother, sister there, cousins. And so you have that whole family unity together there, and that family support. And it's a big thing to be there to support your daughter, your granddaughter, your sister, your cousin, whatever. And that was the intensity and the depthness of that pride, pride for family, pride for community, pride for school. And then my last year of coaching, when I figured it up, it was down to about 20% or less. About, the dad wasn't there. Kids are, from split homes or living with grandparents, or don't know where their brothers are at, or, their mom's non-existent, or dad's not existent, or doesn't come support them. So the whole family dynamics of coaching and the family thing is really changed the whole outlook as far as, kids in high school especially. And that it's kind of that gap there has kind of created not as much sense of pride and team. And I think that's where a lot of I tell everybody, even my girls today that are still in sports, I tell them, it's about the us's and the we's instead of the I's and the me's. And I think that creates a whole team bond thing. And so, there's so many things that high school coaches, have to deal with, boyfriend breakups, girlfriend breakups, not living at home anymore, mom and dad moving out, or moving in with your grandparents, or jobs, with cell phones, video games, and there's just so many things that kind of demand their attention. A lot of them have jobs and, have to work for their gas money and pay their insurance, to be there. And then those are kind of things that are necessary things. And so that's what it makes it even more important to make the game fun for the kids. They have enough stress, a lot of times with school and work and, family things. And so we wanted that time to be in the gym, kind of a sanctuary away from all the other things. And, we had a thing in our locker room. It says, you enter as an individual, you stay as a family, and you leave as a team. And that's kind of how we kind of operated. And we spent my whole time at Shelby County. We spent lots and lots of time doing team building and unity building things with our players. And we tried to stress that in our meetings with our parents in the beginning of each and every year, that everything that we worked for as far as uniting the team and being together and having unity and having class and having a team concept, takes 3-4 hours a day. And all that work that we put in, my assistant coaches put in. We'd have birthday celebrations in the locker room. We'd have popcorn and parties, and we'd have Thanksgiving gatherings at my house, or Halloween parties at Coach Travis's house, or Thanksgiving time or Christmas parties at Coach King's house. So we did doing all those little things or big things just to make our team close. And I told the parents when I says, but all that work to being unified and stuff, if you don't agree with what we're doing as a coach or a coaching staff, you need to make an appointment to meet with us. And please, forever what you do, please, my goodness gracious, do not be sitting at your supper tables at night or sitting at your house watching TV and bad-mouthing the coaches or the teammates in front of them, because all that work that we do 3-4 hours every day can be destroyed in less than 2 or 3 minutes by some of the things that you might say to them at the dinner table at night whenever you get home. So that's one of there's a lot of challenging things to being a high school coach. And it's kind of funny that you mentioned that, no, we're not allowed to recruit and stuff, but it goes on, and you can.
Oh yeah. That's why I said minimal
happens.
to no
recruit. Yeah. It happens. And you can, and I'm not going to badmouth any program, whatever, but if I've never been anywhere where I've recruited. As a matter of fact, I kind of went out of my way to make sure we'd always did things the right way, and that integrity was never, that we didn't lose our integrity about anything that we did. And we've had good players from the schools I've been that's been recruited. Just about everywhere I've ever been, we'd lose a player that's been recruited by somebody else. And that player was a difference maker for us. That the difference between us winning 20 games and going to the regional tournament, and they go somewhere else and play for somebody and win the regional tournament, go state tournament. So those things happen. So the toughest thing about high school coaching is that you're trying to develop chemistry, you're trying to develop unity, you're trying to develop a cohesive unit that plays well together, that gets along. May not all of them love each other, but we want them to respect each other while we're there, and respect each other and the hard work that they do. And we always kind of strive to, tell them to be the best teammates. And we always try to tell our parents, if you wouldn't say it in front of your mom or your grandparents, don't say it in front of your kids. That way we don't destroy whatever we've worked for in such a short period of time. So the challenges of being a high school coach is really, really tough, and especially in this day and time whenever it's more about the individual, and it's more about the individual, and the AAU has done a lot of individualism as opposed, whenever you throw in AAU and you're going, and I'm not saying that, you shouldn't do AAU, but I think sometimes the AAU takes away from the team chemistry and making it more about the individual instead of making it more about the team. And then the lack of fundamentals being taught. You can look at nobody knows how to pass the basketball and move. Nobody knows how to make a free throw at a crunch time. The shooting percentages are down, the assists are down. Heaven forbid you have to see anybody to box out somebody to go rebound. Nobody knows what a box out is.
But they can all do that step backs and those Euro steps and all that stuff that makes them look good. Oh, yeah.
They can do the highlight things. They can do the highlight things. And boy, they can pound the basketball. That's one thing AAU's done, and they can really dribble. There's a lot of dribbling. And ball screens. You see a lot of ball screens and dribbling. So, there was very few ball screen. There was very few ball screen offenses in our repertoire as high school coaches until we got into the 2010 and beyond, and it was. That's what everybody wanted, the ball screen. We had a lot of screening. We had a lot of down screens, had a lot of back screens, had a lot of double screens, staggered screens. But you had a lot of movement off the ball to screen people off the ball. And now it's just that's one of the reasons I like to watch Gonzaga and Iowa play because, man, they know how to pass the ball and they know how to set screens and they're screening off the ball too. So, and getting the ball into the post. Woo!
I'm sure you love watching Iowa. Then, of course, they got a nice big on their team, Luka Garza, who's probably going to win National Player of the Year. Sorry, I didn't mean to get off topic, but I love my college basketball, man.
Yeah.
And, of course,
and he
Gonzaga.
should, and he's a good spot, and they have made sure that he gets the basketball. I find myself, I can tell you this weekend, I watched 3 games. I won't say the way I will tell you is watching. I was watching the Ohio State game, and they were playing Iowa. And it's like, man, whenever Iowa had somebody open in the post, they got him the ball. Yeah. Then I was watching LMU the other night against Gonzaga, and LMU was constantly getting a guy on the post, the ball and posting up. He didn't touch the ball. And I said, well, why would you even want to post up? You're not going to touch the ball. At least give him a look and let him touch it. But so I just love basketball. But man. When the guys work hard and block out and they post up hard and don't get to touch the ball, well, it makes me mad.
I understand. It's there for a reason. It's a part of the game, and it's an easier 2 points. But now everybody wants to focus on the drives and especially the 3-point shooting. In not a lot of ways, Steph Curry has changed the game in that perspective. But one thing that you were through in your set that I definitely was able to grasp was unity, and kind of you talked about that I versus we mindset. And I'm a big advocator for obviously doing what you need to do to succeed and obviously putting yourself in the right situation to succeed. But one thing that I constantly always hear from whatever mindset this is, whether it's from parents or whether it's from parents of players or, ideas of players, is that they want to talk about, me, what am I going to do to make myself look good? But one thing that don't realize, and this is what I've learned talking to not just high school coaches like you or even at the coaches at the college level, is that they look for team guys. And girls. They look for players that can succeed, put themselves in good positions to succeed while being a good teammate at the same time. And I think and that's why I love what you said, because a lot of that gets lost.
Well, you're right. Listen, I'm going to tell you, our whole philosophy whenever I first, took that was the number one priority whenever I became a head coach with my staff and stuff. I got people that were smarter than me and better than me and in the areas where I was weak at. But our number one philosophy was, and then Coach Holland, whenever he left, he told me, he said, you got to develop some team unity. So, we did that and we developed team unity, and our number one message to everybody is to be the best player, you got to be the best teammate. Mm-hmm. The best player has to be the best teammate. If you're not the best teammate, you can't be the best player. And that just makes you want to be around people that make you better. We had lots. We had some. Probably our best teammates in my first couple of years were some of our girls that were the best teammates on the track or in the conditioning or in the weightlifting room, because, man, they would push each other and stuff. And then it kind of carried over when some of our less talented people were our best teammates. And I said, and that part of it was good. But the more you played, the more you got into the game, the tougher the competition be. the more your players, your actual basketball players, your talented players had to step up and to utilize those skills that their teammates were showing them in the weight room and in the conditioning and with their unity gatherings and stuff, that your best players had to become the best teammates. And I think that's one of the reasons that we were able, to go from 10 wins and 13 wins to 14 wins and have a constant improvement over the 3 years I was there, is because our unity and our integrity and our morals and our expectations were there, not just all about me, but about the us's. We were more about the we's and less about the me's. And that's kind of, as the old saying goes in my day, is like, we played more for the name on the front of the shirt and the jersey as opposed to the name on the back of it. And that's a big undertaking this day and time. Because, and that's the kind of the point of everybody is like, it's all about playing to where I can go to get a scholarship, or where I can be seen, or where and that's good. But it's most important through the team concept, about the more success we have as a team, a group, and a unit, the more everybody is going to get seen and looked at and talked about. And so that's the thing that was me, is about being the best teammate, being the best player. You had to be the best teammate, and that was a message that all of our assistant coaches instilled into our team and instilled into them away. And I believe that's the reason that we, over the years, every year, we got a little bit closer and closer and closer together, And I'm big on the mental aspect of it. You might think this is crazy. I don't know if I told you this or not, but one of the years that we had one of our most, I'm going to say this nicely, volatile group of mixture of personalities on the team, we did a year full of yoga every Wednesday. We had yoga in the library with the instructor for an hour to get us mentally, prepared to be better teammates. And it is also great for injury prevention too. And I think, just to be honest with you, that's probably one of the reasons that we had, and I kick myself all the time, is that that last year that Macy and Ashley got hurt, we weren't doing some of the things for injury prevention that we had done the 3 years prior. And so I was really disappointed that I was, we have 2.5 hours of practice time when you don't count your individual workouts at the end or before, and you just try to get that squeezed in. And we were just trying to evolve into a more efficient defensive and offensive team, and some of these things we kind of sacrificed, and it bit me in the butt. I never do it again. And it was it probably cost us. It cost me 2 players that could help us got to the region.
I was like, no, I remember you actually telling me about that. And I remember even putting in one of my preseason articles for the Shelby County, talking about previewing the Shelby County girls basketball season, talking about what you all did during the off season, to get better and improve. And I mentioned, I definitely put the yoga in there as well. And to answer your question, I don't think that's crazy at all. I mean, I actually know a lot of athletes that actually do yoga, because like you said, it's not only good for your mind, it's good for your body. It means good for flexibility and, just being able to get the full use of movements. And when your muscles are flexible, as with what yoga does, I mean, it enhances your performance as well. And of course, but like the main thing you touched on is that it all starts up here. And that's one thing that yoga is great for.
And that was our conditioning and our workout and our calisthenics and our flexibility and the stuff that we did. When some especially younger coaches and stuff found, where people out in the community like, oh, golly, no wonder you can't win 20 games. You're spending too much time jumping rope and doing yoga. They just that's just another part of being a high school coach that people just don't understand. It's not all about the X's and O's and the Jimmies and the Joes. It's about, your preparation to get where you need to be successful. And it's whenever you're working with what you got and having to develop your talent, you have to do some pretty creative things. And, I've never had fear of being creative. That's for sure. I didn't really care what other people thought we did, but if I thought it was going to help our team and to be more successful and keep our players healthy, that's the reason we did it. So that's the thing that you can't ever have any fear of it. But, you always can look back and say you do things a little different. But that was probably the thing that I would do. My next coaching job we're definitely not going to sacrifice anything for health and flexibility for injury prevention just to get some stuff in, because if you're not healthy and not able to do it, you can't even be on the floor to run your defenses or offenses. So it's got to be priority.
I was saying, being a young guy, I got a little bit of a smarter mouth on me than you. So if a parent ever approached me and talked about you're busy too much jumping rope and doing yoga, I would ask them just a simple question. Who's the all-time leading scorer in the NBA? They'd say, hold on one second. But I'd ask them, who's the all-time leading scorer in the NBA? And they'd say Kareem. I'd be like, well, ask him how he feels about yoga. He credits a lot of how he was able to play for 20 years at a high level to a lot of the flexibility that yoga brought him. So, but definitely also I want to transition kind of to the last part of the interview right now, and that's where the article written by John Herndon, which I absolutely loved, which talking about how, for those who want to read it, it's on 110christ.com, and it's called sorry, I just blanked for a second, but blessings wherever he goes. And what I really loved about it is just with all this going on, you're able to stay positive through your faith. And even knowing you, first time I ever met you, I knew you're a man of very strong faith. So talk to me a little bit about your faith and how it applies to everything you're doing.
Well, it's that's kind of what gets me through everyday life and stuff. And I've had a lot of wise members of coaches and preachers and teachers and folks that's been in my past. It's elders of churches and deacons, and they laid a path out there for me. And I had to say, my mother and I came from my mother is a staunch Baptist member of the Baptist church, and she always has been, and she took us to church whenever old enough to remember. So being involved in and having God in my life has always been there, and it's always a foundation that was laid as a cornerstone by my family, and it just kind of has been enhanced by the people that I've been involved with over the years, and they're just too many and too numerous to name. But needless to say, I've seen where it's gotten a lot of folks through some tough times, and so it was, to me, especially sharing that and being an FCA huddle leader and seeing so many uplifting things through FCA over the years as a huddle leader and as a person that's involved with Fellowship of Christian Athletes, and seeing how much being an FCA huddle leader and a coach has been there, because whenever everybody else has abandoned you, we give those kids and those students and your coworkers and people that another avenue to pursue, to look at and say, hey, listen, he's there for you morning, noon, and night. He's the same yesterday as he is today and will be tomorrow. And there's a song out there where it says, you can hold to God's unchanging hand. Whenever we're looking and grasping for things to grab hold of and to take us places, you're looking for that unchanging hand. So, I have always in my whole life, I've worked hard, I've played hard, played with a lot of intensity, a lot of passion. And I've always been thankful that I've had the health to be able to do that. And I've always been thankful that I've been able to be blessed by the people that I've had an opportunity to coach with. Whenever you coach at a lot of different places and teach at a lot of different schools, you meet a whole lot of people that put a lot of blessings in your life. And, I can go back to whenever I was, at Henry County Middle School, working with a lady named Mary Roberts. And Mary Roberts' husband, John Roberts, was a athletic director at Henry County that just passed away back during this COVID thing back in December. And I was able and blessed to be able to coach his sons when I was helping coach at Henry County years ago. And to be there and to see that faith when those three young men had to speak at their dad's memorial services on the steps of Henry County High School. We sat there in our parking lot in our automobiles for the memorial service, and to see how their faith held those young men up to do something that's tough to do, speak at their own father's memorial service. And then to look across the room and place and see a young lady there named Tara McMahon, who helped me with the FCA. Actually, I kind of helped her when we was at Henry County Middle School, a place where every Friday morning we would have almost 200 kids. And I'm not talking about just one Friday, but it's 200 kids packed in the library for FCA devotionals and stuff every Friday morning from 6th to 8th grade. And you kind of see that those things are what it's all about in the grand scheme of things in life. And then when you see those, it's great to see kids that come back and then talk to you about, this game or that game, or, hey, coach, remember the first time we ever beat Clay County at Rockcastle County? Because, that was a big thing, because I played high school ball for about 5 years, and we only beat them suckers one time, and we never beat them at Clay County. So, those are big, but the big thing is that when you come back and you have a young person comes up to you and says, yeah, says, I really enjoyed your devotional whenever we were in middle school and all the after school activities that we were get to do, or whenever we went to the football games and handed out Gatorade bottles with scriptures on to the home team and the visiting team, and you'd have somebody from the visiting team, pat you on the shoulder and sit down beside you and wanting to pray with them because they had somebody that's in their family that was sick. And so, that's life. That's the things that make, we're all blessed, and we got to take the time and be able to sit down and think about, with everything that goes on, even in the year of COVID and all the stuff and the lack of unity in our whole country, there's still lots of blessings. I still wouldn't want to live anywhere else. I still wouldn't want to go anywhere else for health care. And I still wouldn't want to, be any different, because you find the good things, like this COVID made me a better teacher. There's no doubt that I'm a better teacher now than I was whenever this happened back in March, because I'm more technology savvy and I can reach larger groups of people in the same amount of time. There's no doubt that I'm closer to my family because I've had more time together, and we've had game board nights, and and we've had nights that we are able to play cards and rook, and then even other night we were sitting in front of the TV, found something on the TV where we was doing it was kind of a sing along or karaoke or whatever. Golly, we hadn't done that, so we find blessings wherever we kind of search for them and stuff. And there's if we look around long enough, we can always find the things that are wrong. But man, it's a whole lot more. It's a whole lot more fun and loving to find the things that are make you blessed. So, yeah, I'm blessed. I'm blessed. So,
I'll say that's what I love to hear, because and what you told me definitely spoke to me, because like many others, 2020 was a very tough year on a lot of people. And, a lot happened in my life that I was kind of at one time putting, feeling down about it, kind of feeling sorry for myself, and definitely should not have had. But what you kind of said was very reminiscent of what one of my best friends told me. And I made a statement, he was over at my house, we're actually right in here, and said, and I talked about how bad 2020 was. And he said, no, man, 2020 has been a great year. And I looked at him like he was nuts. Like, what are you talking about, man? And then he told me all the things that about how much better I am in work position right now, how I've taken, I've lost 30 pounds and got better into my fitness. And since he wanted to interrupt our interview, I also got this little guy right here. So, I mean, yeah, I was saying he was doing so well, and then he wants to interrupt, like, right.
Yeah. Maybe I want to know the secret there. That's how you dropped the 30 pounds, because I'm telling you, brother, I put on about 20. I need to get rid of that 20 I got on. So I need to know your secret to that.
Oh, man, I don't know if there is a secret. I just work out like a madman. That's about it. I had a workout earlier this morning with a good friend of mine, Dorian Todd. I mean, and he's in phenomenal shape. So, I mean, of course, I was able to hang with him during chest workouts and all that. But when we start doing abs, I don't know if I can hang anymore. So
yeah,
but
well, that's one good thing that was the great thing about having Coach Travis. I'm a retired military Air Force guy. It's like because we would lift together. Me and him and Coach Keene would work out and lift together and stuff. And that's great about having him. And then whenever I had to step away, and then we had COVID and stuff, and then lost lost it with those guys. It's like I was able to stay with Coach Travis and Lip, but Coach King's moved off to Bardstown now, and so I don't get to see him as much. But not being able to lift and work out, that's probably been the toughest thing for me because, man, I just, whether it be at the weight room at the school or whether it be at the weight room at coach's house or my house or wherever. Or I even went and got to whenever lost all my weightlifting buddies for after coaching and stuff, or whenever before everything shut down, I went and joined the membership of the Planet Fitness. Mm-hmm. And man, I was rocking it there for about 2.5 months, I guess, and man, loving it. And then I can really tell I miss it. So I'm hoping to get released where I can actually go into a place like that and start working out again. That'll continue to help me heal mentally and physically.
I would say definitely, because that's one of the biggest things it's done for me is not only am I getting in better physical condition and getting my health better, but it's also a good peace of mind mentally. And I think that's one of the biggest things it's done for me. But I also love how we kind of came full circle. And I think that's just awesome. Just talking about how, just coming full circle with the challenges and everything and being a man and just staying positive through it all. And that's what I've always liked about you. And that's what I just absolutely loved about this interview. So, Coach, I want to thank you so much for coming on. And we're going to have to definitely do this again because I'm feeling inspired.
Absolutely, now. Man. I tell you, man, it's good talking with you, man. I always enjoyed our discussions and stuff after the game, whether it be a win or a loss. But, I enjoyed talking about the kids and the stats. And, it's always better to talk with you after a win and stuff. But, the positive thing of it is that, when you get your priorities in life right, and somebody says, well, how you stay so positive even after a bad season? I said, well, there's always next year. There's always next year. So there's always hope for a better tomorrow. And that's kind of the way my faith kind of leads me to, tomorrow's going to be better than it is today. And whatever was happened yesterday, that's kind of our motto. I told my assistant coaches all the time, we got to be better coaches tomorrow than we were today because we ask our players to be better tomorrow than they were today. And so that's that growth mindset and to be positive about that. You just got to stop looking back at the negative, work on the negatives, make them all positives. And, that's easier said than done because life kind of throws a lot of curveballs. But after coming through what I've come through the last year and a half or so, it makes me count my blessings even more because even all through that, I still had a lot of blessings because if I hadn't been coaching there, man, I would never got to meet you. So that makes it good, brother.
I appreciate it. I'm glad I made some kind of positive impact in people's life. But no, I want to thank you again for coming on. And Coach, have a good one. Best of luck to your future. And I appreciate it. You always got a home here on Less is More Sports.
Hey, sounds good, man. You let me know if we want to do this again. Sounds good.
Absolutely. All right, man. Take it easy.
All right, see you, brother.